Hey there, F1 fan. We're diving into some major drama from the Las Vegas GP. You've probably heard about it already. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, two of the most competitive drivers on the grid, at each other's throats after a race that seemed to expose Ferrari's biggest flaws. And when I say at each other's throats, I'm not exaggerating. The tension had been building for a while, but Las Vegas took it to a whole new level. Ferrari, one of the most iconic teams in F1 history, found themselves in the middle of a storm, and it wasn't just because of the race results. Sure, they managed to bring home some points, but when you look closer, you'll see that something deeper was going on behind the scenes. Leclerc, starting fifth, was ready to attack from the get-go. He had a plan: gain track position, fight for a podium, and make sure he wasn't going to leave the desert without something to show for it. And you know what? He started strong. He made some quick overtakes, including Pierre Gasly, and was already eyeing third place by the 10th lap. But then, things took a turn. As he moved up the field, Leclerc started pushing harder and harder. It's something we've seen from him before: he loves to attack. But this time, his aggressive driving came at a cost. His tires were degrading faster than expected. And that's when Ferrari made a critical call, one that would set the tone for the rest of the race. They called Leclerc in for a pit stop on lap 15, hoping to get him in front with a hard tire strategy. But when he rejoined the track in 6th, all that early progress gone. So, what do you think? Was Ferrari's strategy to blame for Leclerc's struggles, or do you think he pushed too hard too early? Drop a comment below, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. While Leclerc's race took a downward turn, Carlos Sainz had a different approach. He started third, but unlike his teammate, he played it a bit more conservatively, keeping an eye on tire management and not overexerting himself. By lap 20, it seemed like Sainz might have made the smarter play, maintaining a strong position while others struggled to keep up. And now, before we move forward, if you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, and your support is crucial to help us get there. Thanks, I appreciate it. Now, let's get into what really went wrong for Ferrari during the Las Vegas GP, those pit stops. If you're an F1 fan, you know how crucial strategy can be, and for Ferrari, their tire strategy turned into one big mess. We've already talked about Leclerc's pit stop on lap 15. The decision to switch him to hard tires seemed logical at first: try to undercut the competition and make a quick move. But it didn't play out as they expected. The track position he worked so hard to gain gone in an instant. Rejoining in 6th, he was stuck in traffic, struggling with tire degradation, and the frustration was clear. You could practically hear it through his radio messages. He was fuming, and rightfully so. After all, he was racing for a podium spot, and Ferrari's strategy didn't seem to back him up. But it wasn't just about Leclerc. The strategy also affected Carlos Sainz, who had started third. Sainz, being a little more conservative early on, was managing his tires better. However, Ferrari's decision to bring him in for his pit stop put him in an awkward position. When he rejoined, he found himself just behind Leclerc. And this, my friend, was the start of a very interesting and heated part of the race. I want to hear from you. Do you think Ferrari made the right call with the tire strategy, or was it just a case of bad luck? Let me know in the comments. Do you feel like the team could have made better decisions with tire management? Cast your vote. Now, as the race progressed, Leclerc's tires were becoming a real issue. He was unable to maintain his pace, and to make matters worse, Sainz, who had been saving his tires, was now closing in. Ferrari's pit wall was watching closely, but they were about to make another decision that would drive the tension even higher. At this point, Ferrari had to make a call on how to manage their drivers. The last thing they wanted was a repeat of the mess we saw in earlier races, where their two drivers collided, or one was forced to back off for the other's benefit. So, what did they do? They issued a team order to Sainz: Carlos, don't overtake. Just take care of your tires. This is where things really get juicy. Alright, so now we're at the part of the race where the tension between Leclerc and Sainz really started to boil over. Ferrari issued a team order to Sainz: "Carlos, don't overtake. Just take care of your tires." On paper, it seemed like a smart move. Don't let the two teammates fight and risk losing valuable points. But in practice? Well, that's where things went off the rails. Sainz, feeling confident with his tire management, didn't exactly agree with the team order. He knew that he had the pace, and he wasn't going to hold back just because of an instruction. So, what did he do? He ignored Ferrari's orders and passed Leclerc on lap 44. And this, my friend, was a moment of pure drama. Leclerc, clearly frustrated with the situation, couldn't hold back his emotions over the radio. His sarcastic comment, "Maybe try in Spanish," was a clear sign of how deep the tension had gone. You could hear the anger in his voice, and honestly, who could blame him? He was already struggling with tire issues, and now his teammate was racing ahead, completely disregarding the team's instructions. Can you imagine how Leclerc must have felt in that moment? He was told to hold back, yet here was Sainz, moving past him as if the team order didn't even exist. It's a delicate situation when two ultra-competitive drivers are in the same team, but Ferrari had just added fuel to the fire with this command. So, what do you think? Was Sainz right to ignore the order and race his own race, or was he disrespecting the team? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and let's get the conversation going. But here's the thing, despite all the drama, the final result wasn't a total disaster for Ferrari. Sainz finished in third, while Leclerc came in fourth, just a few seconds behind. On paper, it was still a decent haul of points for the team. But the damage was done. The morale was shattered. Both drivers were upset, not just with each other, but with Ferrari itself. Now that the race was over and the dust had settled, the fallout from Ferrari's chaotic strategy became all too clear. Leclerc and Sainz were both visibly frustrated, and it wasn't just about the race itself, it was about the bigger picture. Ferrari's internal issues were on full display for the world to see. Leclerc, usually the more vocal of the two, let his anger spill over in multiple post-race interviews. He didn't hold back. He openly criticized the team's decisions, and in particular, their strategy and communication. He felt that he had been unfairly asked to hold back when he was clearly the faster driver. And can you really blame him? He was doing everything he could to fight for a podium, only to be told to slow down for the sake of his teammate. His frustration with the team was palpable. After all, this wasn't the first time that Ferrari's decisions had cost him. Leclerc felt like he was constantly being held back by a team that couldn't make the right calls when it mattered most. And if that's how he felt, you can only imagine what was going through Sainz's mind. Carlos, typically more reserved, also showed signs of frustration. He didn't exactly go off on Ferrari, but his irritation was clear. Sainz had been racing well, managing his tires, and then, just when he thought he could race to the finish line, Ferrari gave him a team order that felt unnecessary. He'd already passed Leclerc once, and now they were telling him to hold back again. It was a tough pill to swallow. In the aftermath, there were no easy answers. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur tried to smooth things over, but let's be real, his attempts to calm the waters felt more like damage control than actual leadership. His comments were vague, and he didn't address the core of the issue, the lack of clarity in Ferrari's strategy and communication. And here's where it gets tricky. Vasseur has been at Ferrari for a while now, and he promised to fix these problems. But after this race, it was clear that Ferrari still had a lot of work to do. So, here's a question for you: do you think Ferrari's leadership, and especially Vasseur's handling of this situation, was up to par? Or did he drop the ball? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your opinion on how Ferrari's team principles and strategy are impacting their results. Alright, now that we've unpacked all the drama from the Las Vegas GP, it's time to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This race wasn't just a one-off failure, it's part of a larger trend that's been plaguing Ferrari for the entire season. From questionable pit stops to inconsistent team orders, Ferrari's strategy has been under constant scrutiny, and the tensions between Leclerc and Sainz only make things worse. When you compare Ferrari's performance to their rivals, Red Bull, Mercedes, even McLaren, it's clear that something isn't working at the Scuderia. Red Bull, as always, executed their strategy flawlessly, while Mercedes kept a calm, calculated approach. McLaren may not have had the pace, but they managed their drivers and their strategy far more effectively than Ferrari did in Las Vegas. And in comparison, Ferrari looks, well, a little chaotic. But here's the thing, Ferrari is still in the race for second place in the Constructors' Championship. The season's not over yet, and they're only a few points behind Mercedes. But with 2 races left, the question is, at what cost? Ferrari's inability to manage their drivers and their strategy could very well cost them that coveted second-place finish. The tension between Leclerc and Sainz is becoming more and more difficult to ignore, and the team seems to be losing control of the situation. At this point, the real question is, can Ferrari turn things around in time? With 2 races left, do they have what it takes to pull together and finish strong? Or are the internal tensions and strategic failures going to cost them dearly in the final stretch of the season? I want to hear from you. Do you think Ferrari can fix their issues before the season ends, or is it already too late for them to recover? Cast your vote, leave your comments below, and let's get this conversation going. And hey, if you've been enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without your support.